Turkish elections, opposition stuns Erdogan with historic victory. Radio Free Asia closes Hong Kong bureau. Hundreds of trucks full of aid sit idle near border with Gaza. Puerto Rico declares public health emergency due to dengue. China lifts heavy tariffs on Australian wine. Oppenheimer finally premieres in Japan.
Hello, I'm Wade Lee. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It is Tuesday, April 2nd, and here are your top stories. Turkey's main opposition party has claimed big election victories in the main city of Istanbul and Ankara. The results are a significant blow for Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who had hoped to regain control of the cities less than a year after he claimed a third term as president. He led the campaign to win in Istanbul, where he grew up and became mayor. But Ekrem İmamoğlu, who first won the city in 2019, scored a second victory for the secular opposition CHP. Mr. Erdogan had vowed a new era in Turkey's megacity of almost 16 million people, but the incumbent mayor of Istanbul secured more than 50% of the vote, defeating the president's AK party candidate by more than 11 points and almost 1 million votes.
This was also the first time since Mr. Erdogan came to power 21 years ago that his party was defeated across the country at the ballot box. In the capital Ankara, opposition mayor Mansur Yavaş was so far ahead of his rival by 60% that he declared victory when less than half the votes were in. Supporters blocked all the main roads in the city, waving flags and sounding their car horns. Significantly, the CHP also seized control of Turkey's fourth biggest city Bursa and Balıkesir in the northwest, and retained control of Izmir, Adana and the resort of Antalya. President Erdogan, 70, acknowledged the election had not gone as he had hoped, but he told supporters in Ankara it would mark not an end for us but rather a turning point.
Radio Free Asia is closing its bureau in Hong Kong. The US-funded media outlet said Friday, citing concerns about staff safety in the Chinese territory after the passage of a new local national security law known as Article 23. Bei Fang, president and chief executive of Radio Free Asia, said in a statement, "Actions by Hong Kong authorities, including referring to RFA as a foreign force, raise serious questions about our ability to operate in safety with the enactment of Article 23. The Hong Kong government declined to comment on RFA's announcement, but said it condemned all scaremongering and smearing remarks against Article 23 law.
Fang said that while Radio Free Asia will retain its official media registration, the outlet has closed its physical bureau in Hong Kong and no longer has full-time employees in the city, where it had operated since 1996. It was unclear how many employees were affected or whether they would be relocated elsewhere. The Safeguarding National Security Ordinance, also referred to as the Article 23 law, was enacted on March 23 after being approved unanimously by Hong Kong's opposition-free legislature. The law, which addresses crimes including treason, sedition, state secrets and external interference and makes them punishable by up to life in prison, is meant to supplement a broader national security law imposed by Beijing in 2020.
Hundreds of trucks loaded with food and medical aid sat idle on the road heading into Gaza recently as a senior humanitarian official accused the Israeli government of blocking life-saving supplies from reaching the devastated enclave. According to local health officials, oxygen canisters, water filters, metal forks, over-the-counter painkillers, and generators were among the items that had prevented trucks from entering Gaza, where a vast majority of people are displaced and more than 32,000 have been killed.
Head of operations at the Egyptian Red Crescent Mohammed Nasser said, "They limit the number of trucks that can pass," referring to Israeli officials and soldiers charged with inspecting aid destined for Gaza. The United Nations highest court reinforced Nasser's statements, ordering Israel to open more land crossings to allow food, water, fuel, and other supplies into Gaza. Israeli officials have been imposing an opaque and cumbersome process and worsening the dire humanitarian crisis in the Strip, Nasser and other aid officials charge. Israeli officials have repeatedly denied obstructing aid from entering Gaza, and instead blame the UN for acute shortages of life-saving supplies in the Strip, particularly the north.
Cases of dengue, a mosquito-borne disease, are surging in Puerto Rico, prompting the island's health department to declare a public health emergency. According to Puerto Rico's health department, there have been 549 reported cases of the disease this year. Meanwhile, in 2023, the total number of cases were 1,293 for the entire year. Puerto Rico's Secretary of Health, Carlos Mellado Lopez, said in a statement, "This year, dengue cases have surpassed historical figures." According to the CDC, dengue has regularly been documented in the continental United States, particularly in southern Florida. In 2023, there were 642 cases of dengue in the United States.
According to the World Health Organization trusted source, about half of the world's population is at risk of dengue, with between 100 to 400 million infections occurring annually. The majority of cases so far this year have appeared in the Americas and Caribbean. Brazil has become the epicenter for dengue, with more than 60% of global cases occurring there, about 2.9 million. Other mosquito-borne diseases, including Zika, chikungunya, yellow fever, have also been on the rise globally. Dengue, which is caused by the dengue virus, is transmitted through blood, making mosquitoes the perfect vector. Unlike viruses that originate in other animals which can then be spread to humans, dengue is spread directly from humans to mosquitoes and then to other humans.
China said Thursday that it will lift tariffs placed on Australian wine over 3 years ago, in a sign of improving ties between the two countries. China's Ministry of Commerce said the decision would take effect Friday. China imposed tariffs on Australian wine in 2020 during a diplomatic feud of Australia's support for a global inquiry into the origins of COVID-19. The duties on Australian wine skyrocketed above 200%. Australian wine producers took a heavy hit from the tariffs as China was Australia's top wine export destination.
The Australian government welcomed the decision, saying in a statement that the tariffs were lifted at a critical time for the Australian wine industry. He Yadong, a spokesperson for China's Ministry of Commerce, said China and Australia are each other's important trade partners. He said, "We are willing to work with Australia to resolve each other's concerns through dialogue and consultation and jointly promote the stable and healthy development of bilateral economic and trade relations." The trade in 2019, before the tariffs were in place, was worth $1.1 billion Australian dollars, $710 million, a year to the local economy. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the level of trade would most likely increase when restrictions were scrapped.
Oppenheimer finally premiered Friday in the nation where two cities were obliterated 79 years ago by the nuclear weapon invented by the American scientist who was the subject of the Oscar-winning film. Japanese filmgoers' reactions understandably were mixed and highly emotional. Toshiyuki Mimaki, who survived the bombing of Hiroshima when he was 3, said he had been fascinated by the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer, often called the father of the atomic bomb, for leading the Manhattan Project. The film's release in Japan, more than 8 months after it opened in the US, had been watched with trepidation because of the sensitivity of the subject matter.
He said with sadness in his voice, in a telephone interview with the Associated Press, "What were the Japanese thinking? Carrying out the attack on Pearl Harbor, starting a war they could never hope to win." He is now chairperson of a group of bomb victims called the Japan Confederation of A&H Bomb Sufferers Organization, and he saw Oppenheimer at a preview event. Mamaki said, "During the whole movie, I was waiting and waiting for the Hiroshima bombing scene to come on, but it never did." Some moviegoers offered praise, and one man emerging from a Tokyo theater Friday said the movie was great, stressing that the topic was of great interest to Japanese, although emotionally volatile as well. Another said he got choked up over the film's scenes depicting Oppenheimer's inner turmoil.
The answer for yesterday was B, addictive. I find jogging very addictive. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of Puerto Rico declares public health emergency due to dengue. Number 1, surge. 物价利润急剧上升. The Freedom's Party's electoral support surged from just under 10% to nearly 17%. Number 2, surpass. 超过胜过优于. Her cooking was always good, but this time she had surpassed herself. Number 3, document. 记录记载. Cause of the disease have been well documented. Next, we have your multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comments section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's it for today's Funday news. Be sure to tune into Funday news from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Wade Lee, your host. I'll see you next time.